Hey everybody, it's Becky from Icing on Top Becky's Cakes, and today I'm going to show you which piping tip does what design, and I'm going to show you on cakes and cupcakes that I have done in the past, and then I'm going to link to different tutorials so that you can see more about those specific tips if you want to. Let's start with the 32. This is a star tip. And also covered in other tutorials is how to hold and use a piping bag, which I'll also link to. And this star tip, they can come in many different sizes. The specific one I'm using is a 32. And so this will make great borders on the bottoms and tops of your cake. And this is what's usually classically used to make borders. So you'll see that quite frequently, which is why I started with this one. But you don't always have to do a straight shell like that bottom one was. You can do all different kinds of designs, and I cover how to do these designs in like my practice piping sheets and stuff. We practice how to do these different designs, but often you'll see the star tip make the traditional star design, which is where it gets its name from. You used to see cakes like this in the good old days where the whole cake was filled in with those star tips. I also like to use it for something to make it look like a knitted design, so that can be really fun too, and it's very versatile. So I do like this tip and I do use it often. It's definitely one of my must-have tips. Next, I'm going to show you my 233 tip. Now this I use often for grass or for hair. And so it all depends on how long you hold the pressure on your piping bag. If you hold the pressure for longer, you'll have longer strands and you can make longer hair designs. And if you hold it continuously, you can make something that looks like a ball of yarn or spaghetti, or in this case, a nest that I did for an Easter cupcake. And then I just put some of those yummy Cadbury eggs inside, and it was one of the easiest designs ever for Easter. So I really liked this one. But I especially love this design for little creatures that I make to make their hair, and I'll also link to this tutorial because this was a fun one with all the different puppy dogs. There's so many different ways to make these cute little puppy dogs. But back to creatures, here were the monster cupcakes, and as you can tell, I kind of hold it and let it build, and then I kind of pull away while I'm still applying pressure. So I had like longer strands for these little round Valentine monsters. And so yeah, that tip's a lot of fun. That's the 233 tip there. And next we're going to go to one of my favorites, which is the 124 tip. Now 124 is simply the number of this petal tip, but petal tips can come in different numbers depending on how small or how large it goes. These can go either way. This is kind of the medium one here that most people use. And you can use it to make ribbons and ruffles on cakes. And then, so if you have the narrow end facing out, you can make some really great ruffles, which I did on this doll cake simply by moving your wrist up and down. And this whole tutorial is also on my channel, so you'll see lots of links in this so that you can actually see the actual tutorials for these. But also, of course, the rose. That's what this tip is most known for, is for piping roses. And I absolutely love roses, but I'll tell you which one I like even more for roses. It's the 124K tip. Now that K, I think it stands for Korean, and it's more narrow, it's thinner. So check out these petals. You'll notice that they are thinner and more lifelike, and they have a little curl at the top, so it almost mimics an actual petal. So I'll put my piping a rose tutorial in the links as well. But I also use this for piping other flowers, many other flowers. Here's my pansies, and that tutorial is also on my channel. But I love my buttercream flowers, so here's the carnation. And I also have the mini version. I'll quickly show you a little bit of that mini carnation version right here. Yeah, same tip, 124K, and you just shake your wrist a bit. It's very similar to the rose. And yeah, I used all 124K tips for a lot of these, and I used it for my lily. Again, I have these tutorials on my channel, and some of these are really simple. Some of them are more challenging. I would say the rose is probably the most challenging flower. The rest of these you'll probably get a lot quicker, but don't discount yourself from the rose, because that, yes, it takes more practice, but it's well worth it to learn how to do the rose, and you might be better at it than you think too, so it doesn't hurt to try. So yeah, here's the lily, and yeah, check out all those buttercream flowers on my channel here. Now I'm going to show you the large French tip. This is the 4B. Again, French tips can come in different sizes. It's very similar to the regular star tips. French tips just have more teeth to them, so they're more of those serrated little teeth. And yeah, you can have a lot of fun with these. Piping around the tops of cakes, piping on mini cupcakes. This specific cake here comes from my Cake Decorating 101 series, which I show you how to bake, frost, and decorate a cake. And here's the mini cupcakes, same tip, but I love them on minis because all you have to do is pipe in one spot and it looks fancy, which is a win-win. And here's that tip again, and this time I'm going to give you the E motion that we practice on those piping sheets. It's a really easy motion when you apply constant pressure as you turn, and it really makes it look fancy. So these French tips are a lot of fun. Okay, let's talk about round tips. Okay, we mostly think of round tips for the small writing, but I'm going to show you that round tips also come in all different sizes, and you can use them for piping fancy decorations on cakes, or you can use the really large ones and you can pipe things like scales or stone walls, scales on a dragon, scales on a mermaid. This was my waves and scale cake. Here we have them as stones on my Rapunzel tower cake. It's a really great way to add texture and stuff, especially when you're doing something as tall as a tower and you're like, how am I going to decorate this whole thing? Well, the stones were perfect for the tower, so that was a lot of fun. And then I used a smaller round tip to kind of add all the vines and stuff on the tower. So that I used a lot of round tips for that. Let's go to the leaf tips. This one's a size 366. That's a large leaf tip. Now, leaf tip, it's obvious in the name that this one, often the ones that I use kind of look like those triangles, like a cutout triangle. I don't just use them for leaves. I also use them for petals on flowers like these poinsettias. And I just give it a little shake to make it look like those flowers have more texture to them. So makes for really easy poinsettias. If you use the smaller leaf tip, the 352, you can pipe a little sunflower on a mini cupcake. So these work great for petals and for leaves. So I use this tip a lot for both of those. And I cheated with my 233 in the middle. Now 1M. 1M is what I use the most for cupcakes. I love my 1M tip, and I usually love the rosette on a cupcake because it's simple, it's fancy. To me, it's the right portion of buttercream versus cake, but some people like a little more buttercream on their cupcake, so I'll show you how to do the traditional ones too. This motion here kind of makes like those hydrangeas that you've seen. I'll show you one that's colored also with a different size tip. But for those who like more buttercream on their cupcake and you like the traditional swirl, you do the rosette and then you keep going up. And there's the traditional swirl there. And I do the rosette motion, but I do it on the side of cakes as well. So this ombre type looking cake, yeah, this is a small cake. It's a lot of buttercream for a little cake, but some people love their buttercream. But I think it's a great way to make a fancy little cake for those buttercream lovers out there. And Yeah, so there's many ways you can use these 1M tips, and it's definitely one that I have to have in my collection. So there's the rosette cakes, and you can do the same thing on like a doll cake as well, which I absolutely adore. Now, the same kind of tips, the 1B, they look so similar to 1M, which is why I'm showing them right next to each other so you can see. So if you have the 1M tip, I wouldn't go running out to get the 1B tip, honestly. All these tips, 2D, 1B, 1M, they look almost exactly the same. It doesn't make much of a difference that the teeth come in whereas go out. That's the only difference in these. They come out the same way. So yeah, let's see. Tip 48 here. Oh, this is the basket weave tip. I do love this tip because you know how I love my buttercream flowers. Well, you have to have a basket to put them in, right? So here is the basket weave. And once you get down this motion, it is really simple. Again, it's one of those that I practice on the practice sheets. And once you get down the motion, it is one of the easiest, most forgiving designs out there. So if you're a beginner and you think this looks difficult, it's not. It's actually really a forgiving design. You don't even have to go straight. As you can see, my lines are not exactly straight. It's a basket. It's not supposed to look perfect because most baskets don't have straight lines. You want it to look very authentically like a basket. And that brings me to talking about Russian piping tips. Now, these sometimes give people a lot of trouble, which is why I have a whole tutorial on how to use them. But once you get down the technique, they're actually really easy way to add a bunch of flowers to any cake. And you just can pipe them straight on and have a whole bunch of flowers easily made on your cake. And I definitely would get these. These are some of my favorite to play around with for sure. And then after you get all the flowers piped on the way you want, I like to go in with that little leaf tip and then fill it all in so it looks like a full cake there. And let's talk about the Russian piping balls as well. And these come in different ways. Sometimes there's a little star in the middle. Sometimes they're a little jagged looking, but I'll show you what these two look like. Basically, I like to twist my wrist from side to side as I'm piping straight down on a cupcake. This one kind of looks a little like a pinwheel when you finish, and then it gives you ruffles on around the edges. And this one has those little serrated edges, so it looks a little fancier. But yeah, that's basically the design for those. So let me talk about my book, Icing on Top Becky's Cakes, which is where you will get those practice piping sheets at. They're right in my book, and you can print those off and stick a piece of wax paper over them and practice over and over again all the different designs and techniques that I use. And that's available on Amazon. It's also available on Kindle, but if you want the print, it's easier to print off and do those designs, and then you can just easily practice all these motions. So thanks for watching today, and please subscribe to my channel and look for all those links that I'll be linking for you down below. Have a great day.